In the Greenfield model, we use a tool called Cortex. Cortex is actually a tool we got involved with because we have a relationship with Innovate EDU. They are a Brooklyn-based nonprofit who in 2014 had a grant to build the first version of their platform. We were able to get into a design and development partnership with Innovate EDU that allowed us to really work in conjunction with them on version 2. So our PLP is where our students go to do all their online content, particularly for humanities and science SDL. Again, it's the place where they go to look at their learner plan, which has all their modules for that particular course laid out for the school year. They're able to move through that content at their own pace, take their assessments when they're ready, and improve mastery on their online content through the PLP. Playlists are curated content that students are able to move through at their own pace. So for instance, every playlist starts out the same with the big questions and the key vocabulary. The big questions are what we want our kids to be thinking about, grappling with, dealing with as they're moving through the content. And the key vocabulary is really aimed at increasing our students' word and world knowledge. Therefore, they always start out with that. Then they have headings. So based on the topic, it might be early Mesopotamia or early civilizations. And each heading has about 4 to 6 links in it that allow the students to dive into that particular subject area in more detail. And the links can be videos, text, simulations, games, other high quality curated materials that again are giving our kids at-bats with the content. As the students are going through their playlist, they're also filling out a manual study guide in front of them that is also asking questions and reinforcing the material. So the idea is as our students are done with their playlist and done with their study guide, they've got enough content knowledge to be able to discuss that module in detail with another classmate or even a group for the teacher. I feel it serves our kids no matter where they are in the spectrum. For the most part, you would think we either teach to the middle or the bottom, and sometimes the kids who are racing ahead get left behind because they have to be in the same place with the rest of the class, or vice versa. You teach to the top and the students who are struggling are left behind. This model accommodates all 3 groups of students. So for instance, even in our first year, we were able to recognize that there were some students who were not reading at grade level, and therefore they could not access the content in their playlists. Through the Cortex platform, we were actually able to go in and create modules at different reading levels to target just those students, and it was seamless on the front end to the students. So what I saw as my module with my picture was the same thing you saw as your module with your picture, although in the background we had different reading levels. This allowed our students to actually access the content. They took the exact same assessment, so they were held to the same standard, but they were allowed to really get access to content in a way that supported them to be able to move forward with their classmates. For the students who are in the middle, the content and the pacing is set for them. So it's 1 module a week or 2 modules a week, depending on the subject, and they are able to keep moving. For our students who are high flyers, this model lets them soar. They could actually finish a module, again, take their assessment, prove mastery, and move on to the next one. We also have a concept of core versus deeper. So there are core modules, 4 to 6 modules, which every student must do. But for every subject, we also create an additional 2 to 3 modules with our deeper modules. So our kids are able to, if I really love ancient Egypt, learn about King Tut or learn about some additional pieces that might not have been a part of my core content, but I can now dive into and really learn about because I love Egypt. So we're really giving an opportunity for our kids to race ahead and go deeper in material that they love and not just be stuck waiting for the rest of the class to either catch up or be struggling behind because we put material in front of them that they can't get access to. Also, this is not only about the computers, because again, we have all this data across how the student's doing in close reading and writing, etc. Our teachers have a full picture where they can lean in with kids who are struggling. So they're gonna get additional supports, additional interventions, because that information is very clear to a teacher and not just hidden in various other reports. Cortex is a platform that we began working with again in 2014 with a company called Innovate EDU. And it's actually come a very long way since those early days. We have the ability through Cortex to publish content to our students and can actually change that content in a matter of seconds. So what does that mean to a real teacher in a real classroom? In our first year, for instance, our science teacher was teaching a lesson, and through the quizzes the students were taking online, she realized they weren't picking up a particular concept and they were all struggling with the same question in that assessment. she came to us and said, hey, is there any way we can change this to add additional content to this playlist? And my answer is absolutely. This is yours to own. And so she was able to give us a couple of really strong curriculum materials that we were able to link to, that the students were able to then go back into and revisit that content. So instead of having those students come to her classroom unprepared, she's able to give them that content in advance so they were able to close that knowledge gap. And again, once they got to her classroom, able to move forward in their experiments and labs instead of being stuck with that misunderstanding. Additionally, the platform evolved through both teacher and student feedback. We learned pretty early on our kids like their red, yellow, green circles. They understand what those mean. They want them to stay. We actually figured out that we want more individualization where we can have things be optional and appear optional on the screen. So we're rolling out a feature next year where you'll be able to see when something's optional rather than have it look like everything else. We talk to our teachers a lot about what works and what doesn't work. So we've added new teacher dashboard features where they can message kids directly for a piece of content. They can group kids and send them all a message at once. We are continuing to think about a new student dashboard feature to the platform, which will allow a student to not just see from their progress report how they're doing, but look in Cortex itself and see how they're pacing as opposed to the rest of their classmates. So there are a ton of features that we get directly from our students and from our teachers. We are always listening to what will make their lives easier and what will support them in the classroom. And because of our relationship with Innovate EDU, we're able to bring those features forward. In 2014, when I joined the Greenfield team and we started to evaluate software, we figured it would be easy. Technology at this point had grown significantly, and there must be a product out in the marketplace that would solve our needs. As we went searching, though, we quickly realized that the marketplace had not yet grown to a place that it could actually satisfy what was required for the Greenfield model. We started by looking at Summit Public Schools. They have a phenomenal PLP platform as well, but their platform is predominantly project-based. So all of their materials are geared towards students being able to complete a particular project and be supported in that endeavor. However, the Greenfield model called for really more student agency to be student-centric. Therefore, we wanted a platform that really allowed the student to be the center and everything to revolve around that student rather than revolve around a product or a teacher or a district, etc. So with that being the central tenet, we chose Cortex. We then went looking again for digital learning tools to wrap around it. And again, we were hit with the same problem. A lot of tools are based on the teacher and kids being in the classroom. And so when you want data, you get data at the teacher level and not always at the student level. Or it is in a walled garden where they'll give me a PDF, but that's it. And it's very hard, therefore, to pull information for a student level and then again give a holistic view of how the student is doing, not just in one platform, but across the entire math or humanities or science curriculum. So taking this student-centered approach meant that we had to kind of devise our own systems of pulling information out of one tool, consolidating into another tool, and displaying it out to our teachers and our students. And that was quite the undertaking in those first year and a half of Greenfield that we've continued to evolve on the last couple of years. The overall overarching vision is that at some point, these digital learning tools are able to actually talk to each other and share information in a way that makes information access a lot easier. It'll be pretty hard right now based on the fact that we have about 6 or 7 vendors who all have their own way of displaying information. For someone to just walk in and say, I have a similar Greenfield model, it really takes some thought of how you're going to integrate and pull information from these disparate sources. And we've done a ton of work on the AF side to figure out how to do this in a smart way that thankfully AF is a share and learn organization. So please learn and share, and we're willing to share with you.